Good to see you guys. So I had so many fun things to talk about, and today we're going to talk later in the day about kitchens and mail specifically. Because show of hands, does anybody struggle with mail and paper?
Uh-huh.
Right? What
Yeah,
about kitchens? Um,
yeah.
Anybody else struggle? Yeah, the daily stuff. Yep. So I
Today.
had I had a really interesting thing that kind of popped up. I'm reading this other book for another course I'm doing, and it was talking about decision fatigue. And I knew this from animals. So like if you're training a dog, if you take him for like a 5 mile run, he gets run down. But if you do like an hour's worth of training, it will also fatigue him. So it's almost like a 5 mile run when you're taking your dog for in training, because they use so much mental work to try to learn. Well, it turns out that the same thing happens to us people. So in a house, if you're constantly making decisions of like what to do with this, your brain is always going of like trying to figure out what to do in your house, of like how to process mail and how to do the next step in your house, and all the daily task stuff in your house is on this on constant making decisions. What happens is it actually fatigues us. So, like in athletes, if you have an athlete that is running like a sprint or a marathon, and they are mentally unfatigued, meaning refreshed and not fatigued, they will run faster and be stronger than if they have mentally fatigued themselves prior to running. So the same thing happens in our houses. If you feel like you're running on a consistent thing of trying to process and what to do in your house all the time, it will actually drop your energy. And that's one of the reasons that clutter is so fatiguing, is because you're processing all the time. You never get a chance for your body to relax, right? And so before you even start, you're tired and you haven't even done anything, but you've already been processing for like days and weeks before you even started. So, like, even going into a project, just the thought of going into the project, you may have been thinking about it for weeks, months, years, who knows. So when you even pop in there, you're already tired. Oh, my husband just walked by. We're getting used to the interactions. But does that make sense? And so the goal of clutter clearing is not to have perfect homes where, it's like, oh, everybody can come in and they're like, oh, it's just perfect. I don't care a lick about that. What I care about is that you're in a home that you're happy and you're nourished and you don't feel like you're having to process it. So my goal is to really help us simplify the daily tasks, the things that have to be done every day, the dishes, the taking care of the kitchen, the doing, cleaning your clothes, picking them up, the mail, those daily things. The more automated, the more simplified those become. Those are the key. That's why that 15 minutes is so important, because you build it in as a new habit. If we take the time to create new habits to simplify the daily little tasks and make them more automated, where we're not making decision making, we open up this whole level of energy to do the creative work we want to do. Because I'm pretty sure, as much as I like cleaning and sorting and stuff, I don't want to put all my creative energy into that. I'm always, if I'm going to do creative energy there, I'm going to try to simplify. So, oh, hello, pretty white dog. um, Sorry, squirrel. Or dog. I guess it was dog, not squirrel. But does that make sense? So the other thing is, so in today's thing, when I say those 15 minutes, what I'm really asking you to do is be consistent in learning how to shift and make new habits in your life. And that's why you can't really do it quickly. It's not like once and done. This is like an everyday, you do these simple little practices and you build better and better habits. And you're always kind of asking the question, how can I make it more enjoyable? How can I make it easier? How can I downsize? So you're always keeping it in this creative flow of how can I simplify it? But it's really so it becomes less and less and less impact on your life. And then you have so much more energy mentally, physically, and spiritually to do quilt making and connect to other people and gardening or whatever you want to do. That way you're not burning up all that great juicy energy on things that have to be done every day. The other thing I want to share with you is, I'm always talking about how can we make it more fun? And you're like, this isn't fun. And I'm like, oh, it should be fun. And the reason I want to do that is because literally when we are stressed, our whole system tightens up. And I know I've mentioned this before, but I can't even share it enough because this is so big. When we're tense, when we're tight and we're stressed, we tend to constrict, which means we're not going to breathe as much. Our brains are not functioning as well. We don't have the mental capacity to get ourselves out of a white paper bag. It's just like we can't even figure it out. But when we're happy, when we're relaxed, when we're joyful, when we're in a mood of gratitude and a mood of love, if we're doing this work in an act of love, what that does is we actually are 3 times more creative. We are able to process differently. We are better problem solvers. We breathe deeper. We have more energy. So the difference of coming to this work in a joyful state, even if you're doing dishes at night, you turn on the music and you think of, I turn on the music and I listen to music and I do the dishes. If you can put yourself in a joyful state, you're going to be creating habits that are joyful, and you're also going to be able to process it differently. So your brain, when you're stressed, can't come out of something you've been doing. And clutter is something that naturally muddles your brain. If you look at a pile of things that don't match, your brain is naturally dispersed. So you don't have all of it. So coming to a place where you are more joyful and you're simplifying all the daily stuff, these are habits that will change our lives. And it's habits that I continue to practice on. It's not like once and done. This is a marathon. And the thing about a marathon versus a sprint, when you do a marathon, we're really we're creating something that is so satisfying because things that are done easily are not valued versus the things you evolve and continue to work through. So when you continue to work through it, it is so much more satisfying than that come easy. Somebody comes and takes care of it versus you recreated new habits and you made something that was difficult now joyful. That's a huge accomplishment. And you can like totally pat yourself on the back on that. So anyway, those are the thoughts. Anybody have any thoughts on that before we pop into our first breakout? Don't all speak at once.
Yeah, I've been reading that kind of thing for like 3 years. There's a book, I think, Wrapped by Winifred Gallagher. Helps you kind of get into the zone because, and then I've read the ones like, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi wrote Flow and Finding Flow. And he really gets into that.
Oh, yeah. Because he studied I don't know, so many artists and designers, and he was looking at what they do when they're running at the highest peak. How do they get into that high peak of energy? How do they work at this high level? Because honestly, we have different speeds. We all know it. I mean, when you're cruising on something you love, you're at a whole different level than when you're dragging your feet. I mean, we're like different people. We're like superheroes and slugs. So clean as a superhero, not as a slug. So Susan, yesterday I saw her. Yesterday I came and she was dancing before we started doing anything, and oh my gosh, just the energy and the joy is just palatable. So before you do something difficult, there's a great formula of stress yourself and relax or play. So you're doing something like a pocket of something that may be mentally taxing. So if you're going to be doing a mentally taxing pocket, beforehand, do something joyful to get your energy going. So maybe go for a walk, do a little bit of dancing, do something where it gets your energy going, you feel good, and then do something mentally tasking. And then at the end of the mentally tasking, then you pause and do something that's nourishing. Like maybe you'll close your eyes and rest, you'll listen to music, and you're doing these pockets of an action, a focused and an unfocused. So the dancing is unfocused, it's not structured. You're out for a walk, your brain is able to wander and relax and be ease. And then you go into a focus. And so when I'm talking about pockets, it's like a pocket of a condensed focused time followed by something joyful, relaxing, resting. Maybe it's taking a nap, but it's shifting that heavy focus. It's not watching TV. It's not going on Zooms. It's not, Facebooking. It is literally going outside, seeing nature, dancing, getting your energy flowing, your joy flowing. Okay, so we're going to pop-out room. I could just talk about this all day because I just think it's just like the most fascinating thing ever. How do we live in a space that we've lived in our whole life and change it and make our lives delightful?
I was going to say gratitude too. I mean, that there's just so much to be gleaned from like coming at things with an approach of gratitude. It makes it easier on yourself and it makes it easier on the approach. But we can definitely open up the breakout rooms. Did you want to say what the first breakout session was going to be about? And
yeah, so when you introduce yourself, mention something that is a simple pleasure that you never tire of. And then also chat briefly about in the book, what did you might have found a couple things that made you laugh in this section. I can kind of tell who might have read this section by whether they got it. And then something you might have learned, something, an aha moment of this last week. So if you haven't read anything, just think of maybe something, an aha moment of this last week. And then also, what is a simple pleasure you never get tired of?
Awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the breakout rooms and pause the recording here. I'm just proud of my organization and my community, and it's nice to be acknowledged in that way. But yeah, I was just sharing with Denise that in December we kind of did a calculation on what we saved the community, and even though we had a pandemic and had to shift every kind of program we set forth, but we saved about $45,000 in our community, and hopefully that money went back into other businesses and help people keep the lights on. And yeah, I hope maybe that was just with starting checkouts in June, so 6 months of actual operations, and then we've been doing classes and repair events, but we're going to keep doing those and adapting and all that good stuff. But yay, thanks. Yes, that was my I didn't go into a breakout room, but that would be my little celebration for the week.
That's huge. I mean, it's
Congratulations.
did.
Thank you.
Like
and
I love the tool library.
there was somebody in Spokane.
Saved money for the community.
What's that?
How were you able to save money for the community?
So between all of the programs that we can provide, so with the tool lending, I think we, estimated average checkouts because we completed over 800 checkouts in 6 months, estimated like what kind of value that was a savings for the community. And then the classes and educational outreach and connectivity that we did fall gardening classes in English and Spanish, and food preservation classes last year. Trellis gardening, container gardening, I can't remember all of them, composting, noxious weeds. It's been quite a quite a weird year. So I'm so good at Zoom now because I've done so many of these.
You're like an expert.
So Amanda, I just want to put a plug in really, really quick. I know we're short on time, but here in Spokane, I've got a friend that's on the board of a very, very large condo association.
Oh.
So I asked her what she thought about maybe making a tool library within her condo.
Oh,
so
that's great.
She's going to bring it up at the board and things like dehydrators, sewing machines, musical instruments.
Exactly.
So I'm really excited about moving it forward.
Yeah, well, feel free to pass on my information. I actually was just contacted this week by someone in Spokane asking about starting a tool library, but I don't know if that was the same person because I think they were
no, this was at just a condo association, but
yeah, but that's a wonderful thing too.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of great little libraries of things and stuff like that. So thank you. Anyway, thanks for the little time there, Denise.
Well, we wouldn't be here without you. And it was very timely because in this chapter it talked about like garages and tools, and we're like, well, we got that covered because we have the tool library.
There we go.
So you guys, and so a couple things. First of all, if you would like to support the tool library, volunteering and cash donations are by far the highest way you can support the tool library right now. So they are putting out so many great organizations and programs throughout. So that is a great way to support the tool library. And, as far as, clutter clearing, really, when you have environmental concerns and we're trying to take care of the earth and each other, downsizing and simplifying our life is one of the highest ways we can do it, by reducing what we're using, reusing, recycling everything we can, in the rebooting and the refreshing. It's all very much tied to this environmental. And on page 48, this was one of my favorite quotes from this week was, "This is not wasteful, but a huge problem if we remember to get rid of last year's things before we buy new ones." So it's always like, and clutter clearing is really about becoming present, about being thoughtful, about being awake, instead of just going through our life on autopilot. It's waking back up and shifting our habits and being really thoughtful and doing acts of love beyond ourselves, whether we're downsizing to help our family or in the future, or just ourselves so we can thrive. This cycle of consumption that we are all part of will eventually destroy our planet, but it doesn't have to destroy the relationship you have with whomever you leave behind. So it's like this awareness. And then further on down, she goes, "Another benefit of death cleaning, thinking more about how to reuse, recycle, and make your life simpler and a bit or a lot smaller. Living smaller is a relief." And it is that simplifying. It is so relieving of our nervous system. In a house, if you have a home, and you've probably heard that everything in a place, everything needs to have a place. That always felt a little tight to me. Like, come on, everything needs a place. But when I think of put everything in a place, I think of everything needs a home, a little place for it to land. And what that does is, when you have come across pins or paper clips or a pan or your decorative boxes or whatever it is, to go, I know exactly where that goes. The amount of relief you get from your brain of just going, I know where that goes. There's a home, there's a thoughtful place for it to reside versus random. It does so much to calm your nervous system. That's simplifying. So when you think of creating a place, a home for things, think of that instead. Well, whatever sounds good, go with what sounds good. But really for me, it's just because if you think about us without a home, it's stressful. It is so stressful when you don't have a home. And when you come in and you can have hot chocolate and sit in a couch and you have this nice little cozy place, it calms your nervous system. The same exact thing happens in everything. So just knowing everything just has this little simple home. And when I'm organizing, I keep it so incredibly simple. It's really putting like with like. So by categories. So like in your kitchen. So we'll talk about kitchens here for a sec. In your kitchens, in like your refrigerator, putting your dairy with your dairy, your milk with your milk, your vegetables with your vegetables. So they have this rhythm. And then in your pantry, your canned vegetables with your canned vegetables, you have categories. So when you're looking, you don't have to think, how do I have any canned vegetables? You're like, this is where they go. And no, it just takes that whole level of decision making out. And it's much more simple in a house. So that's simplifying. And then the other thing is, think in terms of stations. So categories, like with like, and then stations. Like in a kitchen, you may have your get ready in the morning coffee station, your tea and coffee station, right? That's a total cozy. Then a big one is like your working station, the place where you chop up your vegetables and stuff like that. You have like a working station. You have an eating station. You have a storage of food station. So you think of like kindergarten, first grade, where they had like the writing station, the kitchen station. It's not, I mean, seriously, everything I do is like Sesame Street. It's like, this goes with this, what doesn't belong. And then you have your little stations. So when you keep it really, really, really simple, you don't have to be a master organizer. When you downsize, it's so simple to organize. Just keep, and that's that going back to simple, 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 simple. Okay, so couple things. Kitchens. What are the things that really get you guys in the kitchen? What are some of the sticking points in the kitchen? Go ahead and unmute. We can all chat.
Gadgets.
Gadgets.
So many gadgets.
Spices.
Okay.
Countertops.
Countertops.
Yeah,
Yeah.
countertops.
Yeah.
Not having room for all the devices.
Yes. Okay. So,
Spices.
yeah. So like having all these, the Instapots and the blenders and the coffee makers, and you have a countertop after countertop full of things. So a couple of things. So first we'll start with like the countertops in general, because that's kind of the big one. And if you can keep your countertops calm, your whole kitchen calms down. So when I'm thinking about creating a thing, the first place I always think about is the sink, because that's where you're always washing dishes and stuff. So claiming a couple spots, and this is where that 15 minutes a day is really going to come in. But if you claim a couple spots in your kitchen and then start expanding them. So a couple spots I would claim would be your kitchen sink. So at least once a day to clean out all the dishes and wipe out your sink, clean out the sink so it's clean and empty. So that's a really good place to clean, because if you walk into your kitchen and you have a sink full of dirty dishes, your energy is going to drop instantly. But if you walk into a kitchen, even if everything else is still a little bit, your sink is really clean and it feels fresh, it's uplifting because you've got breathing space. The other little section I would work is a working space, creating a working space where there's nothing in it. Now, depending on how your kitchen is, it may be small at the beginning, but if you have a kitchen countertop that's just piled up right now, don't worry. But what I would do is like decide where in the kitchen it would be the best place to chop up vegetables and make things. Just pick a spot. And if you need to, get painter's tape, like blue tape, and actually give yourself a legitimate spot of like, this is it. I am claiming this spot. This is my spot, but literally give it some boundaries, because clutter, how clutter it just goes, it'll just overwhelm it. It's like energy. It just keeps, if there's a void, it's like, hello, I want to live there. So in the daily clutter and pickup, this is the spot you are claiming. So pick one or two spots in your kitchen that you are claiming as yours. This is my spot. It may be where you sit to have tea at your kitchen table, but I would claim at least two spots that they are always picked up. And then every day, just keep it and get it into a habit. And then as time goes, start expanding those out a little bit. So this is the easiest way to do it. I mean, optimally, you'll just take everything off your countertops, and sort it and put it and downsize and stuff. That's more of a project. But as far as a daily one, find your stations that you want to kit. Does that make sense? Does that help? Just like claim it. And honestly, once you claim a station or think of it as a sacred spot. This is sacred space. And every day, no matter what happens, and so it might be a 1 foot square. That's okay, but make it sacred, and then keep expanding it out. But during that time, even if it's just for 30 days, I don't care if Armageddon happens, keep that spot clean. and then you can, because in my countertops, I don't do a lot on my countertops, but I would have gadgets and stuff. And the thing is, the more things you have, the more things will be attracted. So it turns out in my kitchen, I have it's like a U shape, and then I have an island that goes out into the main part of the house, so I can see out, but that's where my workstation is. It turns out for my brain, I don't have anything on that station, on that whole countertop, because it turned out if I was putting anything, other things would accumulate. And then it took more work. So it's actually way easier to have nothing there than to have more things. So I took all the decorations. I have everything. So like my kitchen is like crazy simple, but it makes cleaning a million times easier. And this is that daily work of your brain of too much thinking. So think less, and just start breathing it out. And then every day, in that 15 minutes of waking up your kitchen and 15 minutes of putting your kitchen to bed, or, however you do, have that go always be looking and kind of looking at things that are in the kitchen that don't belong. And that goes back to Sesame Street. You look, if it doesn't belong in the kitchen, take it out of the kitchen. And so you just start downsizing that and pulling it out. Does that help? The other thing you might think about in kitchens is see how you're using your space. So what I found is a lot of times the things you're really using are on your countertops, but the things that are in your cupboards are not the things you're using. So if you can downsize your gadgets and be able to put them in some of the cupboards, that'll help. So think about the gadgets you have. How often do you use a gadget? So I used to have my food processor out and my Vitamix. I use my Vitamix all the time. My food processor is maybe twice a month. So I ended up clearing out some space in a cupboard so I could get the food processor out, because that's very specific. I'm okay getting that out for a project, but the daily one, I wanted to keep it simple. So but look in your cupboards and see, you might do one cupboard at a time and pull out everything when you clean out. And this is more of a project, pull out everything. Just don't do the whole kitchen. Do like one little cupboard at a time. Pull out everything, clean, and then sort, downsize. Are you going to eat it? Should you eat it? If you shouldn't eat it, don't keep it. Donate it if you can, recycle it, open the cans if it's past the dates, open the cans and recycle the foods and recycle the containers. But look through cupboard by cupboard and just do it in, consistently. Pick your kitchen and go, I'm just going to consistently, but pull out the things you're not actually using and give room for the things you really do. Because that's a big thing of having, you got everything in the kitchen, but your storage is not being used right. The other thing in kitchens I highly recommend is getting all the mail out. Don't use your kitchen as an office, because it's not food. So is it food? Is it something, you might have a scratch pad there, but honestly, if you can just eliminate all paper from your kitchen, you're going to have a working station for your paper. But that's a great practice. If you want to simplify the kitchen, get the things that don't belong in the kitchen out of the kitchen. And I know it seems simple, but it's a practice. And that's where that 15 minutes is, just that consistent going in, have a little music, go in, walk in, just tidy up. And before you know it, that habit of tidying up, oh my gosh, is that the world's best habit ever, ever. It'll just make your life so much easier. And after a while, you don't even think about it. You're like, oh, tidy up. I met this, and then we'll go into breakout room here in a sec, but I met this lady years ago because I've been in homes for 30 years and I've worked with some incredible cleaners. Oh my gosh, they are like PhD of how to do this with no effort. I was in this house and I was consulting on how to take care of all of her floors and everything. And she was a mom, she worked, and she had 4 kids. And it was like she didn't, oh, you're in the habit of doing the dishes every morning. Yes. So anyway, it looked like when we were talking, it's like she was doing everything perfectly. I mean, and it was like she didn't put any energy at all. And I'm like, how do you do this? She goes, oh, I don't put any energy at all into my cleaning, which is so interesting because everybody I know that's struggling with clutter puts a ton of energy into it. They have all these gadgets and cleaners and stuff. She goes, I put no energy. I just do a little bit here and there. Bingo. I can't even, if you could just paste that to the wall, is I don't put any energy into it. I just do a little bit consistently. And that's exactly what she did. She's wiping down her shower. She's rinsing and wiping down her shower. She has a towel outside of her sinks. As soon as she's done, she wipes down her sinks. If something's out of place, she just puts it back. I mean, she's not stressed. She was like the least stressed person I ever met. And she had 4 kids and working full time. So she was golden. Okay, so we're going to do a breakout room. And the thing is, what did you do last week that you were very proud of? And what practice do you want to add into next week to make your life simpler and more satisfying? And then we're going to talk about mail when we come back, because that's a biggie. Okay, well, everybody unmute, so we'll just talk. No worries. Okay, so who had some wins this week? Anybody want to share some of your wins? Yeah, go ahead.
I had one. Is it Heather going?
Go ahead, Kara, and then Heather.
Okay, I had this goofy little cabinet. It was really cute, but kind of falling apart and not terribly useful. And I finally just thought, okay, I'm going to throw this. I put it out on the curb, and it was gone within a half an hour. And I thought I got too much furniture. So then I moved something else to that place. And I was able to bring out a collection of old music boxes that have been in a storage, one of those plastic shoebox things for decades. And now they're out and you can fire them up. And it's kind of cool. little bit of instant serenity.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's like and it's shifting. Houses are living things, not stagnant things. Heather, what did you do?
Well, I actually was excited because I had organized my file cabinet. And so when I decided to update my retirement, which is something that I hadn't looked at in 3 years, I was able to go to the file cabinet and I knew exactly where my kids' social security numbers were, and it was just very satisfying.
And it dropped your stress, right?
It was great. It was so great. And Kara, I love your turquoise file thing behind you, and you're totally color coordinated with it today.
You need
love it.
turquoise in your life. It will improve things just dramatically.
Color is so nourishing. Picking colors that you love, surrounding yourself. I mean, don't take your home so seriously. Break rules. Do fun things. Who else had a win this week?
Yeah, I've got something.
Yeah.
One thing that was really small was I just put a plastic bin in my labeled it condiments, and I just threw all my condiments in there. So now I can actually get to things at the back of my fridge, and I don't have things like falling down the shelf in the back. And it was such a small thing, but it just made such a big difference.
I know. It's little things. It's all little things. The whole house is just full of little things. I love it. Anybody else?
Well, I went into my refrigerator. I was going to just wipe up a little spill. And then I thought, oh, why not do the whole shelf? And then when I did the shelf, I thought, well, why not do the drawers? Why not do all of it? And so before long, the whole refrigerator was clean. And every time I open it, I just get so much joy that it's so fresh and clean.
I know. You come in and you're just like, oh, that feels so good. Oh, that feels so good. I just want you all to have a house, the whole house to go, oh, that feels so good. Oh, that feels so good.
Yeah. Okay.
Susan.
I'm really excited. With Denise was here yesterday. We went through all these piles of random papers and to do papers, and we moved a beautiful inbox that's going to be emptied every day, but we came up with a really customized system of different pocket folders for the different kinds of to-do things. So I don't see a pile and have to mentally sort. It's like, oh, when I feel like writing to this, or when I feel like doing these returns, I know what color folder to go to, and it's going to be fun. And I've got yesterday's mail in the top, and I'm eager to get to it and get it sorted and empty out that inbox. Thank you, Denise.
Oh, you are so welcome. So when you're thinking about, and let's do a little bit on mail and then we'll see what we have. I want to hear more, but I want to talk about mail because it's such a big thing for so many of us. I mean, show of hands, mail is one of those daily habits that will wear on your soul and destroy a house faster than anything if it's the daily mail. And just an FYI, if anytime you're getting ready to clear off a space and you do this and put in a basket, you're just created yourself a project in the future that you're not going to want to do. So if you have to clear off a space, at least thoughtfully grab each piece and put it in the basket thoughtfully, and then come back to it as soon as, but make it enticing where you want to go so it doesn't feel like this glob, because that'll muddle your energy and you don't want it. Nobody wants to sort a glob. So in mail, so first thing about mail is it needs a home. It needs a place to be. So first thing is, sometimes I will take the mail and sort it on my kitchen table, but my mail never ever lives there. So you want to have a place in your house specifically for mail. So it's not by the TV chair where your nest is. It's not in your bedroom. It's not on your kitchen counter. It's not in your bathroom. It's not wandering down the hall. It's a very, very specific place. And this, just having a central location is going to drop your stress. So when you get the mail, a couple things. First thing is open up everything because you don't want to just start grabbing mail and sticking it. So open up in case there's something you need to handle right away. And sometimes there's checks and stuff that are hidden there. It's not real clear what things are. So open up everything, put things in categories. So a lot of it will be recycling. So the first category is recycle, get rid of envelopes, get rid of any extra things you don't need, advertisements. So you want to get rid of as much. So reduce, think reduce 90% of your mail, and then go ahead and recycle that. And then you're going to be left with usually categories of bills to pay, things to further do, things to read, and coupons. Sometimes there's others, but those are pretty much the basics. You'll have a little bit of it to do. So what I would do in your home that you create for mail, have a place specifically for bills to pay. So you always know where your bills. Sometimes if you have another financial obligation or something you can call, you can put it in that same file, but that's a file you're going to want to open at least once a week. Just look through it and make sure you're staying with your finances. The other one is having another place of like an inbox, an in file, where the things you need to handle, to further do. When you're sorting your mail, don't spend a lot of time processing it. Like this isn't when you're going to read the article. This isn't when you're going to, if you have something you can call in, like if you can handle in less than 2 minutes, go ahead and handle it if you have time in less than 2 minutes, but don't wobble on it. Be very clear. This is just sorting and downsizing. And if you just keep it very clear as getting the mail, opening it up, sorting, downsizing it, and putting it into its 2 pockets, its homes, that'll take that muddle, because otherwise mail will spread all over, and then you have this anxiety of not knowing where your bills are. Did I take care of that? Where's this? It's very high stress, and it's also a lot of paper clutter, which muddles your brain a lot. So just keep that very simple. It's not complicated, but I've been running on this system for years, and I'm like that lady. I spend no time thinking about mail and paper. I still are downsizing consistently because we're always getting paper, but I'm always rebooting it. I'm always doing that 15 minutes in my office of just, I try to be working on one project at a time in my office, not more than one. And I have like little knickknacks and stuff on my table, but usually I'm only working on one project because I know me. I'm a total squirrel. I know me very well.
Do you have any recommendations for coupons? I'll sit on coupons.
Yeah. Okay. So be realistic with your coupons. This doesn't have to be a PhD. It's nice. Like Fred Meyer's pretty good about just sending the ones that you actually are pretty much shopping for. If you have one grocery store, you might look through that, but keep it simple. And usually what happens if you don't keep it incredibly simple and keep them with your list. So when you're doing your list, your shopping list, keep your coupons with it. So they're not in some other thing, and put them specifically. Don't keep coupons of things you won't use. It's not like, don't keep good ideas. Like, this sounds like a good idea, I might buy it, yada, yada, yada. No. If you're going to go to the cheapest thing and this is a high-end product and it's going to be a coupon, you're probably still not going to use it. So don't, and if it's something that you shouldn't be eating, don't keep the coupon. Because you're just going to be like, oh, I should go get ice cream. And you're not going to feel great if you just go eat a bunch of ice cream. Yes, Susan.
I got a tip. This mess that we get every week, look on the back, there's little tiny address. You can write to them and get off their mailing list. And it is in Connecticut, for heaven's sake. We're getting junk mail from some company in Connecticut. So then we can eliminate this every Tuesday or Wednesday.
Yeah. So on the mail, there's 2 different things here. And when I talk about pockets, it's like the 15-minute pockets of daily the daily things. And that's what we're always trying to simplify and reduce the daily stuff. But then we're going to have pockets of projects. One of the pockets of projects can be doing what I call is my anti-procrastination pocket, which I love my anti-procrastination pocket, because you all know, and we all have things we don't really want to do, or there's a bunch of little things that we need to spend time on. So I call it my anti-procrastination pocket, and I'll do it for like 30 minutes. And I just set my timer and I just pull out, it's usually in my inbox, and I just go through my inbox, and for 30 minutes, I just start going through and doing stuff. And it's amazing how good that feels. This is a good time of year to do a tax procrastination pocket. If you don't want to spend, do your taxes, don't think you have to do all of the taxes at once. Just consistently pop in and do like 30 minutes of organizing or 30 minutes of cleaning up your QuickBooks or something. But doing that consistent pockets of making progress, that's that whole marathon mentality, is we're just downsizing and simplifying, and we're marching on. And you think about what she did, Margareta, she had to downsize her whole house. She gave herself a whole year of pacing. So it's not about you don't have to do the whole project. You can just pop in and do a little bit of it at a time, but it's that consistency. So you don't have that weight of, oh my gosh, I feel like I have a million things to do. You're consistently doing a little bit and it drops the whole weight. It's fabdubious. Honestly, it's like, if you could put this stuff in a pill of how much better you feel, it's like we could sell this for a fortune. Oh my gosh. Does that kind of help with the mail? Think a central station. Give it a home. Give it a nourishing little home. Like, Susan, if you have a cool little box to put it in so it's pretty. I have, like, when I'm doing sorting, like when I'm doing classes and stuff, I use color. So not only will I do a label on it so I know what the topic is, but I do color, because like what we did at Susan's house, she has different categories. Oh, here's another tip. When you're downsizing and sorting your house, do not go to the store and buy organizational things first. Ever. That's the last thing you do. I know it's the first thing you want to do is buy cleaning supplies and organizational things, but that is actually the very last step, because the very first thing is you have to know what your categories are. And when you downsize, all of a sudden you have things you can use that you already had storage and you've already got it. So you're reducing and reusing. And then when you find your categories, they will teach you how to organize, because you'll be like, oh, when you put things in like with like, you're like, oh, I like this. I need to look up this. And then I just use simple little files and I just categorize them. And then I can go, oh, yellow, this is this, and so if I'm doing a coursework or anything, I do run almost everything in colored files, because it's an easy, quick way. It's cheap, it's inexpensive, but keep it simple and use what you already have. I guess I'll put them away in a second. But see how simple that is? But honestly, I see that all the time. Is like, I'm going to organize. You get all excited. I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to get organizational bins and I'm going to do it. You want to start in small little pockets and downsize, give it homes, find your categories, go like with like, and then go station by station. This is my bill paying station. This is my inbox station. This is my mail station. You know what I mean?
It's that mental thing of when you, if you, there's the pros and cons for manifestation, right? So like if you say you're going to do something, you almost have that mental, the release and the feel that you actually did it. So when you buy those things, you're like, oh, I am organized, but no.
Was there any backfire on you? I mean, it seems like it would be good, but it really backfires. And then it ends up going into, because it turns out when you buy stuff like that, you won't really use it. It's not what you thought you needed. And so that's the stuff, it becomes more clutter. And then
and then it's mindfulness too, right? Like we talked about this conscious consumerism. So like, I don't know, there's a Daiso in Federal Way, guys. It's the best and the worst thing, because they have so many cute little knick-knacky things and organizational things, and you can spend $20 and get a whole bag of stuff, but then you have a whole bag of crap instead of something that's really nice. Plastic, yes, my worst enemy. Sorry, Denise, real quick, was there homework? I have the reading. I did post the pages and the titles of the chapters. Was there any topic that was
so
homework?
this week I'd really like us to play, if kitchens and mail is kind of a thing, so play in the kitchen of just creating a workstation and a clean sink. And if you don't want to do one of those, then pick maybe a place to sit. Pick two little things to just kind of play with in your kitchen. And honestly, if your kitchen is filling up your countertops, just blue tape it. Give yourself a specific thing to claim it. And then the other one is the mail of go ahead and do a little pocket of just sorting, downsizing, simplifies, and then put bills with bills, your little inbox in your inbox, and then create pockets of like, the pockets are like little pockets throughout the day. Like she said, I just do as I go. And then maybe do 1 or 2 pockets where you're actually like cleaning, like Kathleen, cleaning out the refrigerator. Or maybe you're cleaning out a kitchen cupboard, or you're doing like a bookshelf or something. So pick a couple little project pockets. Maybe you're working on taxes. So project boxes are a specific thing, and a daily one is just kind of keeping things going. Is that good?
I tried to do my dining room table last week and I got it down to like 3 piles.
Yeah. Well, and it's not like, nobody's judging us here. It's like, just keep making progress. This is a marathon. Right. This is a pacing and building up skills we go. This is just every time you make success, you're just like pat yourself, and don't forget to pat yourself on the back and add some music and some joy and rename things. I mean, if like I'm going to sort my bills makes you go, oh, then go, I'm going to delightfully find a satisfying way of shifting my papers, or be like silly about it. When I think about cleaning, I think about rebooting and refreshing. It's like a computer. You unplug it. Everything works better when you plug it back in. The same thing about cleaning. So I usually don't really call it cleaning. I call it rebooting or refreshing.